Hey guys, tonight we're slipping behind the palace walls of ancient Korea, where embroidered silk, shadowy corridors, and ceremonial bedsheets weren't just decorations. They were witnesses. You're standing inside a royal chamber now. The scent of powdered incense is thick in the air, and the flicker of oil lamps plays across lacquered walls. Outside, the entire court pretends they aren't listening, but inside, everything echoes. And I mean everything. You're probably imagining a delicate scene of courtly love. But this is closer to a royal stage played with the whole court as a curious audience. Because in the palaces of Goryeo and Joseon, kings and queens weren't entirely left alone, even in bed. You might not survive the sheer awkwardness of it all. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're tuning in from somewhere cozy tonight, let me know where you are and what time it is. I love seeing the map light up with sleepy dreamers like you. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up inside Goryeo-era Korea, around the 12th century. The stone floors are cold under your feet, and you're led through a vast palace by a eunuch whose footsteps are perfectly silent. You're heading to the king's private quarters, but not for anything scandalous. Tonight, you're just here to observe. You've been granted the strangest royal privilege to witness how the king sleeps. And yes, how he doesn't. See, royal intimacy was never just personal business. It was public duty. The king's ability to produce an heir was a national concern. If he didn't, the court started whispering. Was he ill, cursed, or, heaven forbid, not attracted to as many consorts? The queen's chambers were situated strategically near the king's, but she wasn't his only partner. Depending on the dynasty and reign, he might have dozens, sometimes hundreds, of concubines. These women were selected through rigorous, sometimes invasive exams. Yes, even down to purity inspections. You wince at the thought. Historians still argue whether these exams were purely physical, or whether they also included bizarre interviews to judge virtue. Either way, the level of scrutiny made modern dating apps look like a gentle stroll. And here's the twist. Whenever the king decided to visit a woman, it wasn't spontaneous. A clerk, yes, a clerk, had a logged encounter. Time, location, participant. Imagine an Excel spreadsheet for every royal role in the sheets. But even before that, the selection process involved a nightly wooden tablet called a chambon, inscribed with a concubine's name. These were presented to the king by his chamber officials, who'd read them aloud while he lounged in bed, likely halfway through a bowl of ginseng soup. If that's not romantic, I don't know what is. Once chosen, the concubine would be ritually bathed, perfumed, and dressed in sleep robes before being escorted. Yes, escorted to the king. 2 palace maids on each side, like she was going to guillotine and not the bedroom. No pressure. And it gets weirder. There's a record in the veritable records of the Joseon dynasty that describes how, after certain unions, bedclothes were inspected for evidence. We'll let your imagination fill in that particular historical blank. Still, this wasn't just ancient voyeurism. It was protocol. Producing a royal heir wasn't private pleasure. It was an administrative process, complete with witnesses, documentation, and sometimes unsolicited advice from court astrologers. Your Majesty, tonight is an auspicious night for conception. Venus is rising. Oh, and remember that detail about eunuchs? They didn't just guard the royal quarters. They sometimes stayed within earshot, not necessarily on purpose. But given how acoustics worked in wooden palace rooms, let's just say no one needed to lean in. And then there was the awkward morning after. The concubine was escorted back to her residence, and the king, he went straight to morning court, sleep-deprived, possibly disheveled, and surrounded by ministers asking about rice taxes. Bet he missed modern coffee. It wasn't always so clinical, though in some rare cases, kings did fall in love. There are sweet, preserved notes written in Hanja, classical Chinese characters, folded into fans or embroidered into cushions, like teenage love letters, but with imperial seals. And yet, there were dark sides. Political factions often used the royal bedroom to manipulate power. A favored concubine could sway decisions, especially if she bore a prince, which led to backstabbing, poisonings, and very suspicious falls down the stairs. One fringe theory claims that some queens purposely used herbal mixtures to reduce their fertility, avoiding the political chaos that came with royal births. Historians still argue whether these claims are exaggerated or they reveal a quiet rebellion among royal women. It's a strained contradiction. In a society shaped by Confucian values of modesty and hierarchy, the bedroom, especially the king's, was paradoxically open to scrutiny. Every move, every sigh, every air was a matter of state. You try to imagine living that way, knowing that even your most personal moment might be discussed in a morning council. Talk about performance anxiety. As the lamps in the palace dim and the embroidered screens are pulled shut, you slip away, leaving behind the heavy velvet of the royal world. Outside, crickets chirp. Somewhere nearby, a concubine dreams of a quiet life, far from titles and timetables. You step quietly down the corridor, past the eunuchs, past the perfumed doors, and wonder if love is politics and sex is paperwork. Was anyone really free to feel?
You don't get far before you're pulled sideways into a quieter courtyard that hums with hushed conversation and rustling silk. This is where the real palace drama unfolds, not in the throne room, but in the court of consorts. It sounds elegant, doesn't it? A court full of graceful women, sipping tea and writing poetry. And sure, some of that happened. But behind the fans and painted screens, this place was basically a romantic gladiator ring. Welcome to the harem, ancient Korea style. In the Joseon dynasty, the royal harem wasn't some chaotic free-for-all. It was an institution. Hierarchically ranked, rigidly structured, and fiercely political. You had the queen at the top, always from a powerful noble family, then the royal consort, bin, and then various lower concubines, attendants, and maids. Each with different rights, different clothing, even different sleeping schedules. Sleeping schedules? Oh yes. The harem operated almost like a boarding school meets reality TV. Women were assigned shifts to be available for the king, rotated to maximize fairness or favoritism, depending on who you asked. You didn't just hope to catch the king's eye, you had to wait your literal turn. Historians still argue whether some kings deliberately manipulated these rotations to keep power in balance or to avoid awkward run-ins with jealous lovers. One king famously refused to sleep with the same woman twice in a 10-day cycle. Strict? Maybe. Practical? Debatable. But being chosen wasn't always a blessing. Some women, brought in at ages as young as 12 or 13, were terrified. Others came from families who viewed this as an honor and a shortcut to power. Imagine being a teenager and your parents proudly send you off to be one of the king's favorites. Family dinner conversations were probably weird. Of course, there were perks. If a consort bore a royal son, her status skyrocketed. She might be gifted land, servants, jewels, even a separate palace wing. Think of it like unlocking the top-tier membership card. But the risk? Also real. A prince threatened other factions, especially if he wasn't the queen's son. Poisoned tea, accidental fires, mysterious illnesses, they weren't just plot devices in period dramas. They were weekly threats. And within the walls of the consort court, competition could turn vicious. Rumors were weapons. A single whispered accusation of disloyalty or witchcraft could lead to exile or worse. There's one documented case of a royal concubine being framed with a pair of suspicious undergarments. Yes, really, supposedly infused with magic. Spoiler alert, she was executed. Still, women weren't powerless. Far from it. Some of the most cunning political operators in Korean history were royal consorts. Jang Hua-bin, for instance, was a concubine who rose to queen, ruled through her son, and then fell spectacularly accused of sorcery and executed in one of Joseon's most famous palace scandals. Classic rise and fall arc Shakespeare would have eaten it up. There were also clever, quieter strategies. Some women won favor through art and music, composing court songs that subtly flattered the king. Others used perfume blends so unique that just a hint would trigger memories. Like emotional branding, ancient style. And then there was the secret economy of the court. Bribes, gifts, loans to influential eunuchs or ladies-in-waiting. It was like LinkedIn meets the black market. Want a better sleeping shift next week? Maybe don't skimp on the silk offerings. One particularly quirky practice? Competitive embroidery. No joke. Women would pour emotion and hidden meanings into stitched patterns. A peony for power. A lotus for virtue. A tiger, well, you can guess. These were more than decorations, they were messages, sometimes seductive, sometimes threatening. Imagine a breakup note embroidered into your bedsheet. Even more surreal, kings didn't always know their consorts very well. With dozens, sometimes hundreds of women in the harem, many went unseen. One lonely diary from the Joseon era describes a consort who waited 6 years before even speaking to the king. 6 years. For one conversation. Makes ghosting look merciful. Yet despite it all, friendships formed. Some women created quiet alliances, even deep bonds. They wrote poems to each other, shared makeup tips, and, yes, gossiped relentlessly. A good laugh in the makeup room could make a difference in a life where laughter was rare currency. Still, everything boiled down to proximity. The closer you lived to the king's quarters, the higher your chances. That's why placement in the harem wasn't just architectural, it was political. Some women even bribed guards to carry news of their talents to the king. Hey Your Majesty, did you know Miss Yoon just painted a masterpiece on a fan? Smooth. One fringe theory claims that some harem women trained in subtle footstep rhythms so when they walked past the king's chamber, he'd notice them without it seeming intentional. Like the 15th century version of accidentally walking by your crush's locker. But let's not paint it all as cunning court games. For many of these women, Life in the consort court was lonely. They were isolated from families, locked into rigid schedules, and under constant scrutiny. Laughter came in whispers, love was rationed, and privacy was a fairy tale. And yet, they found ways to thrive, to fight, to outlast. As you leave the courtyard, the moon reflects off the tiled roofs like cold silver. You glance back at the rows of rooms, each housing a story you'll never fully hear. And maybe that's the real secret of the harem. It wasn't just a collection of lovers, it was a hidden kingdom of survivors. You wander further, past the inner courts, following the distant rhythm of a drum echoing across the compound. But instead of more palace grandeur, you're now in a rural village, dirt paths, straw roofs, and the scent of fermented bean paste hanging in the air. It's sticky hot. Children splash in the stream, and women hang laundry. But all the elders are gathered near the shrine, watching the sky. The rain hasn't come for weeks. The crops are gasping. Spirits are restless. So the villagers are preparing for a centuries-old solution, as strange as it is sacred. The rain ritual. At the center of this tradition is a virgin girl, often no older than 16. She's been chosen, sometimes volunteered, sometimes nudged by a particularly persuasive mother to act as a spiritual conduit. And while the ritual itself varied by region, the essential idea was disturbingly consistent. Purity invites rain. The girl, usually dressed in white, would be carried to the riverbank or mountaintop, led by village shamans. There, in a trance-like ceremony involving chants, smoke, and drums, she'd perform symbolic acts of fertility to appeal to the heavens. You shift uncomfortably, because some of those acts weren't just symbolic. Historians still argue whether these rituals involved actual sexual elements or if later records exaggerated them out of misunderstanding or scandal hunger. Some sources claim a symbolic union between the Virgin and a carved wooden phallus representing the spirit of the sky. Others hint vaguely at ritualistic bathing and touch, overseen by mudang, female shamans, who claimed to channel heavenly desire. Fringe stories, largely unverified, speak of entire villages treating the ritual as a semi-public performance, with villagers offering offerings like rice, flowers, and, well, frankly, a lot of side-eye. No pressure, right? But let's be clear, these weren't exploitative orgies disguised as ceremonies. In many cases, they were treated with solemnity, or even fear. A single mistake in the ritual was believed to offend the gods and doom the harvest. So while it seems scandalous now, in its time, it was about survival, not shock value. Still, the weight placed on the Virgin was immense. Girls selected for this role were both honored and forever marked. Afterwards, their marriage prospects could soar or sink. Superstition said some became too spiritually touched to marry. Others, ironically, were seen as ideal wives, spiritually blessed, divinely cleansed, and very publicly single. There's one quirky account from the late Joseon period about a rain ritual going horribly wrong. The shaman fell into the river mid-chant, the girl sneezed during her trance, and the village dog stole the ceremonial offering. It rained 3 days later, but the elders swore it didn't count. And here's the historical irony. Confucian scholars were deeply uncomfortable with these traditions. They wrote scathing records condemning them as lewd and primitive. But even they couldn't stop them. The rituals continued in secret, passed down orally, performed quietly in rice paddies and moonlit forests long after they'd been officially outlawed. One particularly fringe theory suggests these rain virgins weren't chosen for purity alone, but for a specific birthmark, eye color, or even dream they had weeks prior. Like a spiritual talent scout system. My daughter dreamed of a white snake last night, she must be the one. And while no one knows exactly when these rituals disappeared, some say traces of them still exist. Rural harvest festivals today, with their dancing, drumming, and cryptic fertility symbols, may be softened echoes of these ancient rites. A pine tree wrapped in red cloth. A bowl of water placed beneath the moon. As you stand at the edge of the ceremony, you feel the pressure of expectation. The sky overhead is gray but dry. A drumbeat grows louder, and the girl steps forward, eyes closed, lips murmuring something you can't hear. It's uncomfortable, beautiful, powerful, strange. Suddenly, a breeze rolls through the village. The leaves tremble. A cloud shifts. You can't say for sure if it's working, but everyone believes it might be. And maybe that's enough.
The rain fades behind you like a dream as you led along a lantern-lit path, deeper into the old neighborhoods, where tiled roofs lean low and narrow alleys whine like secrets. Here, behind ordinary doors, something quietly unorthodox once unfolded, something known as Yuhan, or the secret nighttime marriage. You duck under a wooden eave and find yourself inside a modest hammock, barely lit by oil lamps. On the sleeping mat, two people sit, young, nervous, and pretending to look anywhere but at each other. You're just in time for a hidden tradition that bent the strict rules of Confucian Korea with a mix of bold romance and whispered rebellion. Yuhan was, in essence, marriage by moonlight. A young man, often a student, merchant, or even a lower noble, would secretly visit a woman's house at night. If welcomed in, the visit might lead to whispered vows, shared bedding, and, depending on the outcomes, an unofficial but very real marriage. Now, don't confuse this with bride kidnapping or anything forceful. These meetings were often mutual, prearranged through subtle signals, gossipy go-betweens, or matchmaking servants. Think of it as a kind of romantic ninja mission. If the boy could sneak in and the girl accepted him, well, technically, they were married. Historians still argue whether this was driven more by youthful rebellion or the simple desire to escape rigid matchmaking systems. After all, official marriages require parental approval, family negotiations, dowry discussions, astrology readings. Basically, several spreadsheets and a background check. But Yuhan skipped all that. It was fast, quiet, and emotionally risky. And here's the kicker. If the couple was later discovered, the families often just rolled with it. Why? Because the girl's virginity was now in question, and social reputation mattered a lot. So, better to retroactively bless the union than have a scandal on your hands. You can almost hear a flustered father grumbling. Fine, they're married now. Someone bring tea. Still, the outcomes varied. In rural regions, this was so common that families practically expected it. Some even left doors unlocked on purpose, kind of a low-key invitation. In cities, though, it was trickier. Guards patrolled the streets, and climbing a wall to reach your sweetheart could end with a sprained ankle, or worse, a lecture from a scholar about propriety and national shame. One quirky tidbit. The young men who practiced Yuhan often carried folding fans not just to look stylish, but to signal their intentions. A fan tucked into the right sleeve, romantic interest. Into the left, just visiting a friend. Into the belt? Let's just say, hope you had dinner. There's even a poem from the 18th century describing a girl who waited 3 nights with her window open, only to receive a visiting cat instead of her intended lover. The cat offered no vows but stole the fish, she wrote. Relatable, but Yuhang wasn't without its dangers. If caught by watchmen or a rival suitor, things could get violent. There's one fringe theory that gangs of frustrated bachelors use to form unofficial patrols to prevent nighttime visits out of sheer jealousy. History doesn't confirm it, but it sounds exactly like something a bitter ex would start. Despite all this, some of the most touching love stories of the era began this way. There are handwritten letters preserved in museums, penned in the shaky script of young lovers who met through moonlit windows and stammered conversations. I dreamt of your shadow before I knew your name, one writes. And the women, they weren't passive players. Many orchestrated the whole thing, timing their parents' sleep schedules, setting out signals like lantern placement or coughs in 3s. One legend tells of a girl who trained her dog to growl if her father stirred, by her precious minutes with her secret fiancé. Even today, some elderly couples in Korea will half-joke that they met through a Yuhan visit. It's whispered as both shame and pride, a footnote to a lifelong love that began with a knock no one was supposed to hear. Of course, the state eventually cracked down. Official bans were issued, citing moral decay and Confucian disgrace. But like many traditions that sneak under the radar, it never quite disappeared. It just went quieter, smarter, more discreet as you step away from the quiet hammock. You can almost feel the heat of young glances still lingering in the air. The walls remember. The night always knew. And somewhere, tucked beneath a pile of folded hanbok, lies a fan slipped into a sleeve, with all the intent in the world.
You're deeper into the maze of alleyways now, the scent of night jasmine giving way to the faint smell of burning pine incense. The streets are empty, yet you feel like you're being watched, not in a sinister way, but in a way that suggests stories are still being lived here. As you pass a quiet temple courtyard, you hear laughter, soft and intimate. You're about to enter one of the most quietly radical spaces of ancient Korea, the lives of same-sex lovers, hidden deep in the shadows. Officially, Korea during the Goryeo and Joseon dynasties was a strictly Confucian society. Everything had rules, roles, expectations, and none of those included romantic or sexual relationships between people of the same gender. At least not publicly. But privately, that's another story entirely. You slip into a wooden tea house tucked behind a row of bakeries. The front is innocent enough: ceramics, dried herbs, a worn chessboard. But in the back, there's a warmth, a softness, an unmistakable intimacy in the air. 2 men share rice wine over a candle. Their conversation slows, quiets. Their hands brush. For a moment, it feels like the rest of the world doesn't exist. The term nanshoku, borrowed from Chinese and Japanese sources, described same-sex male affection, often framed as poetic, scholarly, or even spiritual. Monks in particular were sometimes whispered to have deep friendships that lasted lifetimes and occasionally involved more than just prayer. Historians still argue whether these relationships were romantic, platonic, or something more complex. But the poetry doesn't lie. Surviving verses speak of sleepless nights, shared beds, and longing glances across lecture halls. One poem reads, "His brush moved as his breath did on my neck, on my heart. Even kings weren't entirely separate from these undercurrents. There are hints, just hints, in royal records of favored male attendants given extravagant gifts and private quarters. The veritable records don't always explain why, but scholars have raised more than one eyebrow. One fringe claim even suggests that King Gongmin of the Goryeo dynasty had deep emotional connections with several young male courtiers, whom he treated with an affection that surpassed formality. Whether love, lust, or loyalty, we may never know, but it certainly left the ministers squirming. Among women, same-sex love was even more difficult to trace. Patriarchy often erased their stories entirely, but private letters, preserved textiles, and oral traditions hint at bonds between palace maids, widows, or shamans that carried a different kind of electricity. One particularly beautiful tale from Jeolla province describes two women, Hannah and Seo Jin, who were both temple servants. For decades, they lived together in a small thatched house, tending herbs and collecting rainwater for ritual use. Locals called them Moon Sisters, but no one dared pry further. They died within days of each other, buried side by side. The town still places white flowers on their grave every summer. Still, make no mistake, these relationships had to be hidden. Discovery could mean exile, disgrace, or worse. And so, they became masters of code. Hairpins exchanged with trembling fingers. Poems delivered under books. Silk handkerchiefs with secret embroidery, waves and cranes, symbols of enduring affection. A silent language, rich with meaning. One particularly quirky tidbit. Some lovers used origami cranes folded from rice paper scented with mugwort. Hidden in shoes or sleeves, they were essentially the scented DMs of the day. Subtle. Sweet. Risky. Confucian scholars, of course, were horrified. They viewed any deviation from heteronormative family structure as a threat to the social order. Men were supposed to marry, produce heirs, and pass down ancestral lines. Women, they were expected to serve their husbands, raise children, and remain chaste even in widowhood. But not everyone agreed. Buddhist monks, Taoist practitioners, and especially traveling entertainers, Kisareng or Warang, lived outside these strict structures. For them, gender roles blurred, and so did the boundaries of desire. One fringe theory suggests that certain shamanic rituals required participants to channel both masculine and feminine spirits, temporarily becoming the opposite gender. In those moments, sexuality was fluid, divine, and ungovernable. You sit now in the quiet tea house as the candle flickers low. The two men beside you laugh softly, heads leaning together, sharing a joke only they understand. No one watches. No one judges. And for a moment, the world is kind. You wonder how many stories like this were never written. How many hearts beat quietly in the margins of history, too tender to survive the page, but too powerful to forget. As you rise to leave, the younger man glances at you, not startled, but curious. Like he's wondering whether you understand what this place means. And you do. Because in every culture, every age, love finds a way. Even in silence. Even in shadows.
You walk along a moonlit stream now, where frogs croak like sleepy old men, and the air is heavy with summer heat. You follow the path until you reach a cluster of low-roof village houses, where people whisper of wedding nights, omens, and linens embroidered with more than flowers. Tonight, you're stepping into the world of ritual first nights, an ancient practice that turned private intimacy into a communal event, with far more embroidery than you might expect. In traditional Korean weddings, especially during the Joseon period, marriage wasn't just a joining of two people. It was a binding of two lineages. That meant your first night together wasn't just romantic. It was proof of contract. You enter the newlywed chamber, small and sweet-smelling, with paper lanterns glowing gently and bedding so intricately arranged you're afraid to even sit down. A table of rice wine and red dates sits untouched. Two nervous figures in formal hanbok sit across from each other, stealing glances and then looking away again, like high schoolers at a science fair. And watching from behind a thin door, an entire family, parents, elders, maybe even a few nosy and pretending they got lost on the way to the bathroom. Because this night wasn't supposed to be fully private. It was half love story, half performance review. Here's where things get real. In many households, the bedclothes from the first night were inspected the next morning. If the bride was a virgin, the family expected to see proof, a drop of blood on the white sheet. If it wasn't there, tense conversations over morning tea. Maybe some raised eyebrows. Maybe worse. Historians still argue whether this ritual was more symbolic or actually enforced in most households. Some scholars believe inspection was often skipped in more enlightened or wealthier families, while others argue it was absolutely essential, especially in rural communities where gossip could ruin reputations overnight. And speaking of gossip, there were so many fringe stories about couples who faked the whole thing. One involved a bride smuggling a tiny vial of animal blood beneath her sleeve, just in case. Another tale tells of a groom so terrified of performing under pressure that he fainted before touching the blankets. The family blamed it on ghosts. He got a redo, but not all of it was harsh. There were beautiful customs, too. After the first night, the couple would share a bowl of hanyak, a sweet herbal tea meant to bless their union with health and harmony. In some regions, the bride gave the groom a pair of hand-stitched socks, symbolizing her support as he walked into their new life together. Honestly, that's kind of adorable. One quirky tidbit: in certain mountain villages, there was a tradition of hanging a small paper flower above the newlywed's bed. If the flower wilted by morning, it meant the spirits had approved the union. If it stayed crisp, time to call the local shaman. Or switch out the flower and pretend nothing happened. Of course, all this pressure wasn't fair, especially for the women. Virginity, chastity, and purity were woven into every aspect of a bride's identity, while grooms were rarely held to the same standards. It was lopsided, exhausting, and often cruel. Still, some women found ways to reclaim the ritual. They stitched secret messages into the bedding, lines from poems, small, deliberate flaws in the embroidery pattern that spelled out their initials or hopes. One preserved wedding blanket at the National Folk Museum has a nearly invisible lotus flower stitched upside down, a subtle sign of inner rebellion, or maybe just an inside joke. There's also one preserved story of a bride who insisted on a private wedding night, refusing to let anyone inspect the bedding. When her in-laws protested, she replied calmly, "If trust dies on our first night, what's left for the rest of the marriage?" According to records, they respected her wish. And yes, she went on to become a highly respected matriarch. Legend status. But not everyone got that freedom. In some areas, newlyweds were placed under literal watch, an elder or servant sleeping just outside the chamber door, ready to intervene if needed. Romantic, huh? And in even more obscure traditions, the bedding was later buried or burned, symbolizing the end of single life and the beginning of shared destiny. One fringe theory claims this was also a sneaky way of avoiding future inspections. Destroy the evidence, remove the pressure. You sit with the couple now, watching them nervously pour tea for each other. Their hands tremble slightly, but there's a softness in their movements, a quiet respect, maybe even a spark of love. Outside, the family slowly fades back into their rooms. The lantern flickers low. The embroidered sheet lies waiting, white and silent, beneath the polished wedding mat. And you wonder, not about tradition or proof, but whether these two will laugh together in the morning, because that, more than any ritual, feels like the real beginning.
Morning arrives with the hush of dew and the smell of barley porridge rising from the courtyard kitchens. You follow the soft clang of spoons and whispered chatter to the heart of a rural home, where a bride sits before a mirror made of polished bronze. Her face is serene, but her fingers tremble slightly as she pins a small comb into her hair. Today, she becomes a wife not just by title, but by custom. And that means stepping into the strict choreography of domestic hierarchy, where every gesture, every word, even the tilt of a bow carries meaning. In traditional Korean households, especially during the later Joseon period, the structure was clear: father at the top, mother next, then eldest son and his wife, then younger sons and their wives, and finally daughters, who would eventually marry out. And the newest daughter-in-law, dead last. Literally called the maknae, the youngest, the lowest. So now, imagine waking up after your wedding night and realizing you're suddenly everyone's assistant. Your new name, not your real one. They call you that girl, or just Yop, meaning the one next to. Next to what? Everything and everyone. Your first task: rise before dawn. Light the kitchen fire, sometimes with damp kindling and freezing hands. Sweep the courtyard. Prepare the rice. Make the tea, but don't you dare serve it too hot. If someone burns their tongue, it's your fault. And heaven help you if the Iomioni, your mother-in-law, thinks you're slow, clumsy, or, worst of all, disrespectful. You bow wrong. You're prideful. You speak too little. You're hiding something. Speak too much. You're a busybody. You walk into the kitchen now, where the young bride stands over a stone stove, stirring seaweed soup. She's counting each swirl of the spoon, watching for the exact moment when the broth turns cloudy and rich. Her sister-in-law peers over her shoulder, silent, judging. This wasn't just cooking. It was performance, reputation, survival. Elders used it to measure the bride's potential, how she might run her own household one day, how she'd raise sons, how she'd represent the family name. Even gifts were tests. One tradition involved the bride receiving a set of chopsticks from her in-laws. But not just any chopsticks. These were made of silver, designed to detect poison. Yes, poison. A leftover fear from political dramas and royal betrayals, now reduced to symbolic family drama. If the chopsticks darkened, they said, it meant the food was unsafe. Spoiler, silver doesn't actually do that. But the message was clear: be careful who you trust, and be worthy of being trusted. Sometimes, the only escape was work. Literally. If the bride was diligent, silent, and endlessly respectful, she might avoid punishment or humiliation. But if she showed independence, she'd be scolded, gossiped about, maybe even sent back to her parents, disgraced. And yet, there was quiet rebellion too. Some new brides formed secret alliances with other women in the household, especially older sisters-in-law who had once been in the same low position. They'd whisper encouragement, share kitchen tips, or teach the right way to hold a tea ladle without splashing. There's even an old folktale about a clever daughter-in-law who impressed her in-laws by sewing an entire bed quilt with only one needle, while also baking rice cakes, tending to the fire, and teaching her nephew calligraphy all in one afternoon. Of course, the story is likely exaggerated. But the real lesson: diligence made you respected. Efficiency made you invisible. And invisibility was often safer than standing out. But not every family was strict. In some households, the new bride was welcomed with open arms. The mother-in-law would offer her jewelry, or a poem stitched in silk, or a steamed rice cake shaped like the moon, signs of affection and hope. Those mornings felt different. Lighter. Like maybe, just maybe, this new life could hold love as well as duty. You sit quietly now on the veranda, watching the young bride bow to her in-laws. Her knees press the floor, her head dips low, her hands folded perfectly. And then, her husband glances at her from behind a paper screen. Just one look. No words. But that look, it holds everything. Recognition. Gratitude. Maybe even love. In this tightly wound world of structure and silence, even a glance can feel like a revolution. The bowl of seaweed soup is finally served. The eldest aunt tastes it. Pauses. Nods. Approval. It's a small victory. But to the bride, it's everything. You walk away slowly, past rows of drying herbs and humming bees. The family returns to its rhythm. The bride resumes her role. But beneath her quiet bow, you sense something strong. She may be at the bottom of the ladder, but she's already climbing, one respectful step at a time.
By mid-morning, the household stirs with quiet routine. Chickens strut through the courtyard, their feathers catching the sunlight like soft fans. Laundry flutters on low lines. A wooden comb rests in a dish of oil. And you, still wandering this long, gentle dream, find yourself drawn to the sound of paper being brushed with ink. You follow it through the narrow halls until you reach a small room. Inside, a young boy kneels at a low table, his brush hovering above a sheet of rice paper. His brow is furrowed, not from frustration, but from intense focus. This is the Siadang, the traditional village school. But unlike schools you may know, this one isn't filled with desks or chatter. It's usually just one teacher and a few boys, sometimes gathered in the teacher's own home. Their days are spent reciting Confucian texts, copying Chinese characters, and learning the rhythms of honor and respect through pen strokes and poetry. The boy repeats a phrase under his breath. Hyo, i.e.g., filial piety, righteousness, propriety, wisdom. These weren't just classroom lessons. They were life blueprints. And what about the girls? You turn your head, listening. Down the hall, in the shade of the back room, a young girl sits with her mother and grandmother. She isn't learning calligraphy, but she is learning, just not from books. She's threading a needle through a square of silk, mimicking the gentle arc of her mother's hand. Her lesson is quiet, built from repetition. Stitch the hem, fold the corner, hide the knot, again and again, until it feels like breath. This was gendered education in traditional Korea. Boys were raised with words and wisdom, girls with rhythm and grace. But both were trained in endurance, precision, and duty. You step back and drift outside, where a teacher in gray robes walks slowly along the stone path. He pauses by a tree where wind chimes sway gently. He is not only a teacher of boys, but a Saju reader, a practitioner of the 4 pillars of destiny, an ancient Korean form of astrology. Parents often consulted someone like him shortly after a child was born. The year, month, day, and hour of the child's birth would be analyzed and mapped against elemental forces. Would fire, earth, metal, and water. From these, one could supposedly divine the child's future. Their strengths, weaknesses, marriage prospects, even ideal career paths. It was less about fortune-telling and more about harmonizing with the world, learning how to navigate fate with wisdom. And for many parents, it was both comfort and compass. Now, the teacher is approached by a mother carrying her infant daughter in a wrap of indigo linen. She bows low. The child was born at dawn. During a storm, she whispers, "What does it mean?" He nods, consults the scrolls, and speaks softly. The girl carries the energy of wood and water, flexible, deep, but easily overwhelmed. She will need structure, but not confinement. Praise, but not indulgence. The mother smiles. These words may not predict the future, but they soothe her all the same. Nearby, the boys in the Siadang chant in unison. To cultivate oneself, and then to manage the household, and then to govern the state. These were the ancient priorities of Confucian society. In that order, inner virtue first, outer rules second. One boy falters in his chanting. The teacher pauses. He doesn't scold, but instead pours him a small bowl of warm barley tea. "Try again," he says. "Gently this time." And so the lesson continues, not just in recitation, but in patience. As the noon bell rings, a wooden clapper echoing through the air, the children are dismissed. Boys stretch and run outside. Girls carry their needlework into the sun. You watch one girl lift her embroidery to the light, revealing a delicate design of cranes flying across a lake. She smiles to herself. For these children, learning isn't confined to books or strict hours. It's a lifelong flow, braided through conversation, observation, and imitation. You walk through the schoolroom once more, trailing your fingers along the grain of the old table. Ink still lingers in the air. The scent of camellia oil from the inkstone. The feel of paper, slightly rough beneath your touch. It's all part of the memory. Outside, the teacher hangs a new scroll on the outer gate. It reads, "To raise a child is to plant a tree. The fruit comes slowly, but the shade comes first. The wind catches it gently, and the paper dances in the light." You leave the village school behind, but its rhythm hums softly in your chest. The quiet, enduring heartbeat of a culture built not only on knowledge, but care.
You follow the path that curves down past the schoolyard, past clusters of clay jars lined up like sleepy sentinels along the garden wall. These are ongi, the breathing pots. Within them, fermented treasures lie tucked away beneath stone lids and thyme. Soy sauce aged to darkness, pungent gochujang glowing red, doenjang resting thick and silent like miso from another world. A woman in a faded pink gyogori stands before them, lifting one lid at a time. She listens with her nose, nods in satisfaction. Nothing rushed here, just the ancient rhythm of time preserved in taste. Your journey continues toward the communal cooking pavilion, where soft smoke rises in strands, curling around the tiled eaves like incense. Beneath the thatched awning, the household matriarch presides like a conductor. She isn't hurried or loud, just steady. She moves from hearth to hearth, checking a pot of simmering radish soup, then turning sweet rice cakes on a wide iron griddle. Nearby, an older man is crushing sesame seeds in a stone mortar, his hands sure and slow. The scent that lifts from it is nutty and warm, wrapping you like a soft shawl. This, you realize, is mealtime in traditional Korea, not merely about nourishment, but ritual. Harmony of flavor, balance of temperature, the quiet blending of hot and cold, soft and crisp, bold and mild. And always, always fermented and fresh side by side. You drift toward the inner kitchen and see two women shaping kimchi, each cabbage leaf coated lovingly in crimson-red paste, every fold pressed with salted care. They hum as they work, not needing words. They've done this hundreds of times, and it shows in the fluidity of their movements, like folding a letter in a way that speaks more than it says. They pause only to sip from a bowl of boricha barley tea, warm and faintly nutty, brewed just strong enough to comfort, not startle. One of the women turns to glance toward the window, watching a group of birds pecking at leftover rice. A whisper of a smile. Meals are more than food here. They are expression. They are care translated into flavor. Now it's time to eat. And it begins, not with a clatter, but with quiet reverence. The family gathers at the long, low table. No chairs. Just floor cushions, a soft hum of anticipation. The eldest sits first. Then, one by one, the others lower themselves gracefully. There is no spoken command. No one says dig in. Instead, eyes shift toward the matriarch, who gives a single, subtle nod. Chopsticks are lifted together. The meal begins. There are rules, but none feel stiff. Elders are served first. Dishes are rotated with care. No plate belongs to just one person, it's all shared. You take a bowl of rice, some soft eggplant, a thin sliver of grilled fish, a delicate pile of marinated fern stems. The flavors don't shout, they echo. You notice something else. There is no waste. Even bones are placed with intention. Leftovers are quietly saved. Broth from the fish head becomes tomorrow's soup. One of the younger girls giggles when she accidentally drops a piece of tofu into her lap. Her brother tries not to laugh. The grandmother pats the girl's back gently, then tucks a napkin around her more securely. Even laughter here is gentle. After the meal, the table is cleared in soft procession. Not rushed. Not perfunctory. Just another thread in the tapestry of daily life. Someone sweeps the crumbs into a handkerchief. Someone else wipes the lacquered wood with damp cloth. You step outside again, into the late afternoon sun. The air is turning golden now. You follow the scent of pine and charcoal and hear the low murmur of someone chanting. It's an old man beneath a persimmon tree. He is kneeling before a simple altar, just a flat stone with 3 bowls, water, salt, and rice. He closes his eyes. His words are too soft to catch, but you understand. It's a quiet ancestral offering. Not a holiday. Not a special day. Just a moment of thanks. He bows deeply, holds the position, then rises slowly, smoothing his robe. You wonder what memory lives in his silence. Perhaps a mother's cooking, a brother's laugh, A grandfather's hand resting firm on his shoulder. Perhaps all of it. Here, food is not just food. It's memory. It's language. It's home made edible. As twilight softens the sky and a cool breeze stirs the trees, you stand at the edge of the courtyard. Someone offers you a roasted chestnut, split open and steaming. You hold it in your palm. Small, sweet, perfect. You close your eyes. The day, the flavors, the voices, they all settle inside you like warm broth. And somewhere deep in your dreaming mind, you hear it again. To cook is to remember. To share is to love.
Evening descends like silk over the Hannock village, draping the courtyards in shadows and gold. The tiled rooftops catch the final slant of sun like sleeping dragons, their curved ridges warm and glistening. You stand still and listen, not for a sound, but for its absence. No engines, no buzz of neon, just a rhythmic tap of someone sweeping a stone path and the distant clatter of a wooden pestle in a mortar. Tranquility here isn't something found. It's something that finds you quietly and completely. You walk past a cluster of lanterns beginning to glow, their rice paper skins painted with flowers and old proverbs. One reads, "Even the moon needs time to be full." Another, "Silence carries the deepest truths." An elder sits just beyond them, on a short stool beneath a plum tree. He's folding paper, hangy, thick and soft, and turning it into a crane. One wing, then the next. A crease here, a careful tuck there. His hands remember what the mind need not command. Each movement carries the memory of generations before him. You kneel beside him, watching. He finishes one bird, places it beside a dozen others lying neatly on a tray. Then, without a word, he hands you a sheet of your own, soft cream paper, its edges kissed by age. You begin to fold, fumbling at first, but he doesn't correct you. He just smiles, a quiet thing like candlelight in the wind. It doesn't matter how perfect your crane is, only that you took the time to try. In the fading light, you see other forms of evening ritual taking shape. Children walk with their mothers to the village well, small metal pails in hand. Lanterns bob beside them, their light making puddles of gold on the dusty path. A group of elders begins to circle beneath the banyan tree. They don't speak at first, only bow to one another before settling into slow motion. Take in the ancient martial art that looks more like dance than defense. Arms sweep gently, legs pivot with the grace of drifting clouds. You feel no aggression, only balance, the control of breath, the fluidity of peace. From a nearby window, you hear the rising song of Kaegium, a zither whose string seems spun from longing itself. The player is unseen, but the notes reach out like fingers, threading through branches and over rooftops until they find your ears and settle inside your chest. Somewhere, someone begins to hum along. You are invited to join the evening tea circle. Low tables are set in a crescent near the garden, and you sit among them, knees folded beneath you. A woman in a deep blue hanbok moves between guests, pouring pale green tea into cups no larger than a plum. You notice how she turns the teapot 3 times before each pour. Everything is intentional. The tea is warm, bitter, floral. It tastes of leaves, time, and calm. No one speaks unless necessary. Even then, voices are hushed, as if loud words might shatter the softness of the moment. One man, with eyes like wet stone, recites a poem about the moon reflected in a pond. Another tells a memory of his father, who carved bird from wood and always whistled when it rained. You look up and notice the first stars appearing. Tiny candles poke through a velvet sky. The moon, too, has risen, round and kind. Its light spills over the courtyard tiles, brushing everything with pale forgiveness. It's almost time to return to your room. But first, a final walk. You pass a row of stone guardians, their faces worn by time, but still resolute. They nod silently as you pass. A cat weaved between them, tail held like a question mark. Beyond the village gate, a path curls toward the woods. You follow only a few steps before pausing. Owls call softly from somewhere above. The wind shifts through the reeds with the voice of an old friend. And then, chimes, not from metal, but from porcelain bells hung along the outer eaves of the hammock roofs. They sound when the wind is just right, when the world is just quiet enough to hear them. Each bell sings a different note. Together, a lullaby older than memory. You close your eyes. Breathe in the smell of pine needles, distant cooking smoke, cooling earth. Breathe out. Tension releases from your shoulders like sand. Thoughts dissolve like ink in water. All that remains is now. Tonight, you will sleep beneath wooden rafters in a sky full of stars. You'll curl into the futon, layered with cotton and old stories. The floor will be warm beneath you, heated from below in the quiet glow of Ondal, a kind of comfort no electric blanket could ever replicate. The air will carry the scent of old paper, wild herbs, and a whisper of toasted rice. As your eyes grow heavy, you'll hear it again, not a voice, not a sound exactly, but a feeling that you've come not just to visit, but to remember, and perhaps, in some quiet corner of yourself, to return. You wake before dawn, not to an alarm, but to the subtle shifting of the world around you. A breeze slips through the wooden slats of the hammock window. The air is cool and still carries the breath of night. Somewhere beyond, a rooster calls, not insistently, but as if merely reminding the valley that the sun has a promise to keep. The futon beneath you is still warm from the night. You rise slowly, your body light, your mind softer than it's been in years. There's no rush, no agenda, only the hush of a village that knows the value of slow beginnings. You dress in soft linen, the fabric whispering against your skin. Outside, the village is wrapped in a kind of lavender hush. Fog clings to the ground like shy spirits, curling between rooftops and low stone walls. The trees on the hills appear as silhouettes behind a curtain of early mist. And then you see it, a faint line of gold on the edge of the sky, the first light of morning. You follow it toward the eastern ridge, your feet moving almost without thought. The path rises gently, winding through sleeping fields of buckwheat and barley. Dew sparkles like forgotten starlight on every blade of grass. As you walk, you pass a woman placing shallow dishes of water along her garden wall. For the birds, she explains softly when she sees you watching. She bows. You bow back. The ascent continues, but your breath is steady. Each step feels like an offering, each heartbeat a drum. When you reach the ridge, the sun is just beginning to breach the horizon. It starts slowly, like dye blooming into paper. First a hint of pink, then tangerine, then a deep golden hue that spills over the hills and sets the world ablaze with light. You are not alone up here. A few villagers have gathered, standing quietly, facing east. No one speaks. Some have brought small offerings, pine cones, herbs, folded notes tucked beneath stones. You do not know the words of the ritual, but you understand it. This is not worship. It is witnessing. You stand with them, eyes open, arms relaxed. The sun crests fully now, illuminating the tile roofs of the village below, gilding every branch, every blade, every breath. The bells of the village temple chime, soft and resonant, echoing across the hills. You close your eyes, and in that moment, you feel a kind of alignment, not just within your body, but within your memory, a thread that ties you to something older than yourself, something deep, something gentle. As the villagers begin to descend back toward their homes, you remain for a moment longer. A bird flits past, a magpie, its wings flashing white and black. It lands near your feet and pecks the dirt, then hops away. You smile without meaning to. The walk down is unhurried. Each footstep feels like a note in a slow, deliberate melody. Back in the village, the day has begun to stir. A man leads 2 oxen toward the fields, speaking to them as if they were old friends. Children dart between the trees, chasing each other with laughter still damp from sleep. A woman unrolls a mat and begins her morning stretches beneath a pear tree, her movements fluid and calm. Breakfast is simple but perfect. You sit cross-legged at a low table as bowls are set before you. Steamed rice, clear soup with slices of radish, and soft tofu topped with sesame oil and green onion. A single boiled egg, still warm. A dish of kimchi, fiery and sweet. You eat slowly, savoring each bite. The flavors don't fight for attention. They belong together, like old friends around a hearth. A soft knock comes at the paper screen. The elder from last night enters, carrying something wrapped in cloth. He sits across from you and unwraps it carefully. Inside, a book bound in thick paper, its spine tied with red thread. He opens it to reveal page after page of ink brush paintings, bamboo, mountains, bird in flight, each accompanied by a small poem written in Hangul script. He slides it toward you. You hesitate. He nods, and so you take the brush. Your hand shakes slightly as you dip the tip into black ink. The elder doesn't correct you. He watches, not your technique, but your intention. You draw a circle uneven and soft, and beneath it you write a single word: stillness. He smiles as if that were the most perfect word in the world. You close the book. Outside, the day has fully arrived, but time is still yours. The afternoon unfolds like a ribbon in the breeze, without tension, without force. You find yourself wandering down a narrow path that leads toward the western slope of the valley, the sun now higher, filtering through pine branches and gold-tipped shafts. The path dips and curves, edged by dry stone walls covered in creeping moss, and soon you hear the sound of water, not rushing, but lapping gently, like the breath of something half asleep. It leads you to a pond, circular and calm. The surface reflects the sky, so clearly it's hard to tell where the air ends and the water begins. Dragonflies skim the mirror-smooth surface, their wings catching the sun like glass. You kneel on a stone step at the water's edge. A koi, brilliant orange with a patch of white near its tail, rises silently, just beneath the surface, and looks at you with timeless eyes. There is something oddly reassuring about its slow circling. No rush, no purpose but presence. On the far side of the pond, a woman is seated beneath a ginkgo tree, its fan-shaped leaves casting shadows like scattered paper fans across her lap. She is weaving something, straw into a basket. You think. Her hands are practiced and patient, and when she catches your gaze, she smiles without pausing. She points to the flat stone beside her, an invitation. You cross over, stepping carefully along the pond's edge, and sit beside her in silence. The stone is warm from the sun. She doesn't speak, and neither do you. There's no need. You watch her work, the rhythm of her hands echoing the pulse of the moment. She weaves one strand under, one over, pulling each snug with a kind of reverence. Finally, she finishes. She holds up the small basket and places it gently in your lap. For flowers, she says, her voice like distant wind chimes. Or maybe memories. You thank her with a bow, and she returns it, already reaching for a new bundle of straw. As you walk away with the basket cradled in your hands, you realize how light you feel. Not because you carry less, but because what you carry now is simpler. The path curls upward toward a small hill. From its top, the view stretches wide. Rice paddies reflecting the sky, rooftops like puzzle pieces between groves of plum and apricot, and far off, the distant shimmer of the sea. The air carries the scent of pine and something faintly floral, wild jasmine, perhaps. There's a small pavilion at the hilltop. Its beams age to a rich brown, its paper panels fluttering slightly in the breeze. You step inside. It's empty, save for a scroll hung on the back wall. A single character in black ink. Moo. Emptiness. Not as a void, but as a space to breathe. You sit, not cross-legged or straight-backed, just however your body lands. And you let go. Thoughts come. Thoughts go. You do not hold them. You do not judge them. You simply watch, as one watches clouds on a windless day, drifting, changing shape, fading. A bell chimes in the distance. Not nearby. Perhaps the temple again. Or maybe it's just the wind playing tricks. You rise after an hour, or perhaps only minutes, and descend the hill. The shadows are longer now. The village dressed in the light of early evening. Every tile and twig wrapped in soft amber. You pass a boy painting on a wall with water, his strokes disappearing before he finishes the next. He grins at you, then goes back to painting a tiger with only silence and intention. As the village gathers for evening tea, you're invited to join. Mats are laid out near the central square beneath lanterns beginning to flicker with soft light. The tea is barley, roasted to a deep, nutty aroma. Cups are passed in silence, hands offering more than words ever could. An elder speaks, not loudly, not formally, just a gentle voice telling a story about a fox who tricked the moon into falling in love. Everyone laughs quietly at the ending. You don't understand every word, but you understand enough. When the tea is finished, a small performance begins. Not a spectacle, but sharing. A girl plays a Gaegeum, her fingers gliding over the strings like water. The melody rises and falls in gentle waves, no urgency, only emotion. The music seeps into your skin. You lie back, eyes on the sky, where stars are beginning to pierce through the fading blue. One, then two, then a constellation you can't name, but recognize nonetheless. Beside you, someone begins humming, a tune you've never heard, but somehow know by heart. And as the night deepens, you realize you're not only in this place, you are of it. Its breath is your breath. Its rhythm, your rhythm. Its silence, your sanctuary. You close your eyes beneath the stars. And this time you do not dream. You simply sleep.
You awaken to the faint rustling of wind through bamboo, the sound crisp and feather-light, like paper sliding across paper. Dawn has not yet broken, but the sky is softening from deep indigo to the coolest shade of blue. A silver mist clings low over the village paths, weaving itself between doorways, slipping over stones. Everything feels wrapped in stillness, not asleep but listening. Your body feels rested in a way you hadn't expected. Not just physically, but inside your chest, a kind of warmth that spreads, slow and steady. You step out barefoot, the stones damp and cool beneath your feet. The lanterns have all gone out, leaving behind thin trails of smoke, and the world smells like dew and earth. A rooster crows in the distance. One voice, brave enough to begin the day. You walk toward the edge of the village, to the same path that had once led you to the pond. But this time, it pulls you elsewhere, up, not down. The incline is gentle but persistent, winding between moss-covered trees and under branches heavy with blossoms that seem to glow faintly in the pre-dawn gloom. A set of stone stairs appears ahead, and at the top, a torii gate, red and weather-worn. It stands alone, framed by trees, no temple in sight. Just the gate. A threshold. You pass beneath it, and something inside you quiets, the way water stills in a bowl once the ripples fade. There, nestled in a clearing, is an old woman kneeling beside a small brazier. The fire is barely alive, coals more than flame, but she adds a few twigs with hands that tremble only slightly. She gestures to you to sit across from her. She doesn't ask why you've come. She doesn't ask your name. She offers a cup of something hot, herbal, fragrant with ginger and pine, and for a time, the only sound is the quiet sipping of tea and the occasional snap of a twig in the fire. Then she speaks. Her voice is soft, as though shaped by years of wind rather than use. Sometimes, she says, we carry stories not meant for us. You look at her, and her gaze holds yours with gentle weight. Things we were told to be, places we were expected to go, words we swallowed because they weren't ours to say aloud. She sets her cup down. Let them go. A simple sentence. No drama, no ceremony. Let them go. You close your eyes, and the mist curls around you like a shawl. You breathe deeply in through your nose, out through your mouth, and with each breath, you imagine releasing something. An old regret, a name you no longer need to answer to, a fear that once kept you small. The fire crackles softly. She nods, as though she can feel the shift. You don't need to know what comes next, she says. Only that it will. When you open your eyes, the first threads of sunlight are piercing through the mist, painting golden streaks across the forest floor. The woman has already stood and begun to walk away, her form folding into the woods without haste. You remain for a while, sitting by the dying fire. Eventually, the path leads you back to the village. The morning is fully awake now, doors opening, laundry hung, soft laughter from a courtyard where children chase a ball made of rattan. You notice a wall where people have left painted symbols, some simple, like circles or birds, others more intricate, like prayers folded into shapes. A brush and ink rest nearby, waiting. You dip the brush. You paint not a word or a shape, but a spiral beginning from the center, flowing outward. A silent reminder that life does not move in straight lines. It curves, loops, returns to itself. Always becoming, never finished. Someone offers you breakfast, steamed rice, salted plum, a slice of sweet tamago. You eat slowly, savoring each bite like the first page of a book you no longer need to finish quickly. Later, as you walk past a courtyard, you're stopped by a small girl who presses a flower into your hand. It's a night-blooming cereus, already wilting in the sunlight, but still fragrant. She says nothing, just smiles, and skips away. You hold the flower like a memory, fleeting, beautiful, real. Toward the village's edge, you notice a road you hadn't seen before. It's unmarked, lined with old cedar trees, and stretches beyond what the eye can hold. A gate stands beside it, not to keep people out, but perhaps to offer one last question. Do you wish to go? You turn to look back. The village is quiet again, wrapped in the hush of mid-morning. You could stay. You would be welcome. But there is something inside you that leans forward, not out of restlessness, but readiness. You take one step onto the road, then another. And as your feet find their rhythm on this new path, you realize that the journey isn't about where it ends. It's about how it feels to walk it. With less to prove. With more to feel. With peace not as a prize, but a companion. And with every breath, you become more yourself than ever before.
You walk with no map, no compass, only the quiet pull of the road ahead and the steady beat of your breath. The world around you shifts gently, like the change in a song's key. The trees thin out, replaced by low hills blanketed in wild grasses and soft purple clover. Somewhere in the distance, a lark sings a single, high note. It is the sound of solitude, but not loneliness. As you climb the hills, a breeze catches your hair, bringing with it the scent of something familiar, lavender, wood smoke, and the faintest trace of rain on warm stone. You smile, recognizing it without knowing why. A memory that doesn't belong to mind, but to the body. At the hill's crest, you pause. Before you lies a valley carved in gentle folds, dotted with old stone shrines and a winding stream that glitters in the light like a ribbon of silk. A weathered path snakes down the slope, and you follow it without thinking, your feet confident in their knowing. You pass beneath an archway carved from driftwood, where wind chimes of bone and glass clink softly in the breeze. The sound reminds you of something ancient and kind, like the voice of a friend you haven't seen in years but still remember the laugh of. A young man is tending to a garden beside a small hut. He doesn't look up when you approach, just nods in your direction as if he knew you were coming. His hands are covered in soil, but his movements are precise, planting herbs with care, whispering to them as he presses them into the earth. You sit nearby and watch. For a long time, neither of you speaks. Finally, he glances over and says, "You don't have to bloom all at once." You blink. His voice is calm, unhurried. He wipes his hands on a cloth and pours you a cup of barley tea, setting it down beside a plate of roasted chestnuts. The smell makes your stomach stir with hunger, but also something deeper, like longing softened into gratitude. "You've been carrying too much," he continues. "Most people do. They gather things that aren't theirs. Expectations, guilt, wounds that were never theirs to begin with." He pauses to pick up a sprig of rosemary, twirling it in his fingers. But you don't have to take it all with you. Some things you're allowed to put down. You nod. You understand. As you eat, he tells you about the garden, how every plant has a memory, and if you sit with them long enough, they'll share it. He touches a sprig of chamomile and closes his eyes. "This one remembers comfort," he says. "A cup of tea after grief. A mother humming. A day when it rained just right. You try it. You close your eyes, fingers brushing over a leaf. And there it is, a flicker of something. The coolness of tile under your feet as a child, the smell of your grandmother's scarf, the sound of lullabies sung in a language you almost forgot. Memory is not lost, just waiting. You stay the night in a spare room behind the garden. The bed is simple, cotton sheets and a thick wool blanket, but it feels like sleeping in the arms of the earth. The walls are made of clay, and the wind outside whispers secrets in a tongue you don't know, but somehow still understand. That night, you dream of water. You're standing at the edge of a lake, so still it reflects the stars like a mirror. You step onto it, not into it, but onto it, as if the surface were solid. Each step ripples outward, yet holds your weight. In the center of the lake is a floating lantern, and inside it is a note with your name. You open it. It simply reads, "Welcome back." When you wake, the young man is already in the garden. He hands you a small pouch, seeds wrapped in silk cloth. They're not instructions, he says, just reminders. You thank him and begin walking again. The road ahead is golden with morning. The valley behind you fades into memory, but the seeds in your pocket feel like anchors. As the hours pass, you reach a grove of trees whose leaves shimmer with metallic sheen, like silver dipped in sunlight. The ground beneath is soft with moss, and the air hums faintly, as if vibrating with invisible threads of music. You lie down in the moss and feel the planets pulse beneath you. Not loud, not urgent, just present, steady, eternal. And in that quiet, you begin to understand. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are not too late, or too much, or not enough. You are in motion, becoming, returning. With every breath, the weight of needing to prove something fades. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to begin again. And you do, right here, right now.
The sun is higher now, warm and golden, casting long rays through the branches of the silver-leafed trees as you rise from the mossy ground. Your joints don't ache. Your thoughts aren't cluttered. There's only quiet, the good kind. The kind that fills you rather than empties. You begin walking again, the path this time dappled in shifting light and shadow. Every footstep feels intentional, though you haven't planned where to go. The air smells like sun-warmed bark and clean earth, with the faintest trace of something sweet like figs or honey. Not far ahead, you hear a slow, rhythmic tapping. Soft, wooden. As you round a bend, you see an old woman sitting at a small wooden loom beneath a tree. Her hair is silver, pulled back in a long braid, and her fingers move as if they're part of the loom itself, threading, weaving, tying knots in threads that seem to change color with the light. You watch her for a while before she notices you. When she does, she smiles, not with surprise, but recognition. Like you've arrived exactly when you were supposed to. You've come a long way, she says. You nod. She gestures to the loom beside her. Every thread has its place, even the ones you thought were mistakes. You sit with her. Not to work, not to fix anything, but just to be. She weaves, and the fabric on the loom grows with intricate patterns, circles that ripple outward like ponds disturbed by rain, lines that twist into vines and flowers, loops that double back on themselves before moving forward again. She pauses and holds up a thread. This was a sorrow, she says. See how it frayed at the end? You do. It's pale blue, almost translucent. But look what it did. She points to where the thread curves gently into a pattern of spirals and stars. It made something that wouldn't have existed otherwise. You trace it with your eyes. She's right. You think about your own past, the detours, the wrong turns, the chapters you wanted to skip. How many of them had quietly changed the shape of you, made room for tenderness, resilience, and empathy? She hums softly, and you recognize the tune not from memory, but from something older. A lullaby sung through time. Would you like to add something? She asks, offering you a spool of thread. You take it. It's soft in your hands, the color of early morning sky. With her gentle guidance, you add a few stitches, uneven but true. And as you work, you feel it, the sensation of being part of something larger, a quiet rhythm older than worry, older than doubt. When you're done, she nods. Perfect, she says, and you believe her. You leave the loom and continue on, her song still echoing in your ears. The path narrows, then widens again, revealing a field of tall golden grass that sways like waves under the breeze. In the center stands a single oak tree, massive and ancient, its trunk gnarled with time, its branches spread wide as if embracing the sky. You walk toward it, and as you get closer, you notice carvings along its bark, names, symbols, stories etched deep and faded by rain and sun. You reach out and run your fingers across the grooves. Each one is a moment, a shared laugh, a letter never sent, a night of silence that said more than words. You add your own, not with a knife, but with your breath. You whisper a memory to the bark, and somehow, you know it hears. A swing hangs from one of the branches. You sit in it, and the tree rocks you gently, creaking in time with the wind. You let your feet dangle. You let yourself be still. Far off, clouds gather, not storm clouds, but the soft kind that bring gentle rain. The air changes, cooler now, like a sigh. You smile. You've remembered something important, that life doesn't ask you to rush or to prove. It simply asks you to notice. The first drop lands on your hand, warm. Then another. And another. You don't run for shelter. You stand in the open, arms raised slightly, welcoming the rain like a long-lost friend. It smells like return. Like something washing off that was never yours to carry. The rain soaks through your clothes, but it feels good, like being baptized not into a religion, but into yourself. And when the rain stops, the air is hushed and clean. The earth steams faintly, and in the silence that follows, you hear something, a low, distant bell. Not urgent, but inviting. You follow it. You pass through another grove, and then a low stone wall covered in moss. Beyond it is a house, not large or grand, but welcoming. The kind of place where the windows glow even when no one's home. A place that smells like books, tea, and warm blankets. You walk through the open gate. Inside, it's quiet. A fire crackles softly in the hearth. A pot of soup simmers on the stove. And on a table by the window lies a letter with your name on it. You open it. The handwriting is yours. Older, steadier. You've made it, it says. You didn't skip the hard parts. You let yourself feel. You let yourself rest. You remembered the quiet. You remembered the path. And beneath it, just one more line. You are home.
You fold the letter slowly, your fingers lingering on the soft paper. You place it back on the table, and for a while, you simply sit, watching the fire dance on the hearth, listening to its steady crackle. Outside, The rain has stopped, and the world feels hushed, like it's holding its breath. The house is warm, familiar. There's a quilt draped over the arm of a nearby chair, stitched with patches of old shirts, travel maps, and fabric scraps printed with words in faded ink. You pull around your shoulders and sink into the chair, exhaling fully for the first time in what feels like ages. A cat appears from somewhere, soft, quiet, and gray as morning mist. It leaps gently into your lap, curls into a perfect circle, and begins to purr. The sound settles into your chest like a balm. You stroke its fur, and for a moment, the world feels entirely complete. Then, something changes. Not outside, not in the house, but inside you. It's subtle, like the shift between dreaming and waking. Only this time, you're not waking up. You're going deeper. You rise from the chair, placing the sleeping cat gently onto the warm cushion. You move through the house toward the back door, which opens onto a garden. Not a neat garden with trimmed hedges and tidy rows, but a wild, enchanted one. Vines coil around archways. Pale blue moths float through the lavender. A small pond glistens in the center, reflecting a sky dusted with the first evening stars. You step barefoot onto the stone path, the earth cool and damp beneath you. Every plant here seems to lean in your direction, as though it knows you. Flowers nod as you pass. The air smells like jasmine and old stories. And at the heart of the garden, you find the tree again, the one you saw earlier, now fully in bloom. It's massive, towering, ancient. Its leaves shimmer with silver edges, and its roots spread in all directions, thick and knotted like time itself. In its branches are lanterns, hundreds of them, each one glowing softly. You walk to its base and look up. A rope ladder hangs gently from one of the lower limbs. Not demanding, just waiting. You climb. It's easier than you thought it would be. The lanterns sway around you, casting shadows that look like memories. Your childhood bike, a friend's smile, the face of someone you loved and lost and still carry with you. At the top, nestled within the wide crook of branches, is a small room, round like a nest, with cushions and tapestries and books piled in every corner. There's a small round window that looks out over everything. Fields, hills, rivers, cities glowing like stardust. The world quiet and vast. You sit there, and in that high place, wrapped in the hush of night, you feel it, the slow settling of all things. Your heartbeat steadies, your breath softens, thought slips into dream, worry becomes mist, and time, always rushing, always pulling, finally lets go. From the distance, you hear the low hoot of an owl, steady as a drum. A breeze whispers through the leaves, carrying a lullaby older than words. You lie down on the cushions, pulling the quilt around you. It smells faintly of cedar and sunlight. The stars outside will slowly across the sky. You close your eyes, and nothing presses, nothing pulls. There is no before, no after, only this, the safety of the branches, the hush of the earth, the breath of the night. Sleep finds you gently, like a hand you once knew, resting softly on your shoulder, saying only, you can rest now. And so you do. The story ends not with a door closing, but with one opening, quietly inward,